There are moments in life when the ground beneath your feet simply disappears. No warning. No goodbye. Just silence where your life used to be. Have you ever worked for something so long that it became your identity? Have you ever dropped to your knees in an empty room and asked God, why me? Why now? Why, when I did everything right? This story will shake something loose inside you. Because the man you are about to meet lost everything in a single week. His career, his home, his family, and in the wreckage of all of it, he found the only thing that was ever truly meant for him. Sometimes God does not remove things from your life to punish you. Sometimes He removes them to save you. His name was Daniel Abramowitz. Spring of 2008. Chicago, Illinois. He was 34 years old and, by every measure the world uses to judge a man, he was winning. Senior manager at an investment firm. A salary that made his mother cry happy tears every time she thought about it. A house in Lincoln Park with a garden that his wife Claire had planted herself, flower by flower, over 3 summers. And Sophie, 4 years old. Dark curly hair. A laugh that could stop a room. Daniel had built this life brick by brick over 9 years. He was not born into money. He had studied on scholarships, worked double shifts in his 20s, said no to holidays and yes to overtime for nearly a decade. Every sacrifice had a reason. Every late night had a purpose. And then, on a Tuesday morning in March, it ended. His firm had collapsed overnight. A financial scandal involving the 2 senior partners triggered a federal investigation, and by the time Daniel arrived at the office, there were government agents at the door and a printed notice taped to the glass. The office was permanently closed. His salary gone. His savings frozen. The house went to the bank 6 months later. But none of that was the moment that broke him. The moment that broke him was a Sunday evening in September. Claire had been quiet for weeks. Not angry quiet. Just distant, like a person slowly backing toward a door they have already decided to walk through. That evening she came downstairs with 2 suitcases. Sophie was already in the car. Claire looked at him for a long moment, not with cruelty, not with hatred, but with something far harder to bear. She looked at him with pity. "I can't do this, Daniel," she said softly. "I'm sorry." And then the door closed. He stood in the hallway of a house that was no longer his, listening to the sound of his daughter being driven away, and he felt something inside him go completely, utterly still. He did not call after her. He did not cry. He just stood there in the silence and breathed. That night, on a mattress in a 1-room apartment he moved into 3 days later, Daniel stared at the ceiling and had one conversation with God. "I did everything right," he said. "I worked honestly. I never cheated. I was faithful to that company for 9 years. I was a good husband. I was a good father. And you took everything. So tell me, what exactly is your plan? Because from here, it looks like there isn't one." The ceiling did not answer. For 6 months, it never did. Daniel survived that winter on small accounting jobs he found through a church bulletin board. He kept his head down. He stopped dreaming, not because he had given up, but because dreaming felt dangerous now, like reaching your hand into a fire a second time. He was invisible. And invisibility, he discovered, has a particular kind of weight. Then in October, he was doing bookkeeping for a small restaurant owner named Marcus Webb. The restaurant was nothing impressive. 40 seats, a narrow kitchen, a street that most people drove past without stopping. But Marcus moved through it like a man who had found exactly where he was supposed to be. He was unhurried. He laughed at small things. He had a stillness about him that Daniel could not explain and could not stop noticing. One afternoon, almost without meaning to, Daniel asked him how he had built the place. Marcus put down his pen and was quiet for a moment. "I didn't build it," he said. "I just stopped fighting the direction I kept getting pushed in." He told Daniel he had once been an engineer. He had been laid off twice. His first business had failed completely. Every time something collapsed, he had felt it as punishment, until one day he looked at the wreckage of his plans and asked himself a different question. Not why is this happening to me, but what is this making room for? Daniel drove home that evening with one word turning over and over in his mind. Correction. Not punishment. Correction. The way a hand on a steering wheel moves you gently away from the edge. Not to hurt you. To keep you on the road. He lay on his mattress that night, and for the first time in months he did not feel the familiar burn of anger. He felt something quieter. Something unfamiliar. He felt curious. What, he thought, is all of this redirecting me toward? He began reading. Not about finance. About food. About the invisible systems connecting farms to restaurants to tables. He could not explain the interest. It simply pulled at him the way a current pulls at something that finally stops resisting. He started talking to farmers. To restaurant owners. He had no money, no office, no plan. But he had a mind built for patterns, and he began to see one clearly. Small farmers were growing beautiful food that nobody was buying, because the large distributors only wanted volume. And small restaurants wanted quality they couldn't afford, because the same distributors charged too much for it. There was a gap, and he knew exactly how to close it. In 2010, with a small loan and 3 handshake deals with local farmers, Daniel launched a company called Groundwork. It was not glamorous. He drove a second-hand van himself. He loaded crates at 4 in the morning in temperatures that made his hands go numb. There were months he was not sure it would survive. But it did more than survive. By 2016, Groundwork was operating across 5 states. By 2019, it was valued at over $40 million. A company built not from ambition alone, but from loss, from the specific, painful, perfectly shaped loss of a man who needed to be emptied before he could be filled with something true. He could not have built Groundwork from inside Hartwell V.E. Crane. That life had no room for it. That salary, that comfort, that carefully constructed identity, it would have kept him exactly where he was, forever, in a room that was never meant for him. He needed to lose the room to find the door. Daniel still lives in Chicago. His office overlooks Lake Michigan now. Sophie is 20 years old. She calls him every Sunday. He and Claire never rebuilt their marriage, but they built something quieter and perhaps more honest, a shared love for their daughter, a mutual respect for
the storm. They both survived in their own way. And sometimes on the mornings when the lake is still and the light comes in slow and golden, Daniel thinks about that Tuesday in March. The notice on the glass, the agents at the door, the sound of his life ending before he had finished his first cup of coffee. And he is grateful, not for the pain. Pain is not a gift. Anyone who tells you otherwise has never truly suffered, but for the correction, for the invisible hand that took the life he had built so carefully and said, not this. You were made for something else. Trust me. He did not trust, not at first. First he raged, then he grieved, then he went quiet. And in the quiet he finally heard it, the plan that was there all along. Before I let you go, I want to ask you something. Is there something in your life right now that feels like punishment? A door that closed too hard, a dream that collapsed, a silence where an answer should have been. I am not going to tell you it doesn't hurt. It does. And your pain is real and your confusion is valid. But hold this one thought tonight, just one. What if it is not punishment? What if it is correction? What if the thing you are losing right now is simply making room for the thing you were always meant to find? Goodbye for now, and I will see you very soon in our next story. Until then, keep reading, keep learning, and never stop asking questions.